You've said that Trump has a special connection with the people of
100%.
Pennsylvania. Why? What is it that you see that he appeals to in your state?
There's a difference between not understanding, but also acknowledging that it exists. And anybody spends time driving around and you can see the intensity. It's astonishing. I was doing an event in Indiana County, very, very red. And there was a superstore of Trump stuff. And it was 100 feet long. And it was dozens of T-shirts and hats and bumper stickers and all kinds. I mean, it's like, where does this all come from? I mean, it was almost like Taylor Swift kind of swag. It's like of everything. It wasn't just a sign. It's the kinds of thing that has taken on its own life on that. And it's like something very special exists there. And that doesn't mean that I admire it. It's just like, it's real. And now you have, Musk is now joining him. I mean, to a lot of people, I mean, that's like, hey, that's Tony Stark. And that's the world's richest guy. And he's obviously and undeniably, he's a brilliant guy. And he's saying, hey, that's my guy for president. That's going to really matter. You know, I'll never forget. I live directly across the street from the steel mill. And we were doing an event there for Clinton. And I asked the union president, I'm like, hey, where we are on Trump? And he's like, yeah, probably half or 60%, two-thirds are voting for him. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And then immediately there was a guy getting off and he had a truck and he had truck nuts on it. You know what truck nuts are?
Do I look like I know what truck nuts are?
It's balls hung on the hitch of a truck. And he honked and he was like, go Trump, as he drove by. And it's like, hey, we're in trouble. And it's undeniable. And
all right, guys. So once again, we got to talk about the continued meltdowns from the Democrats over the fact that Trump is now officially winning the race when it comes to the averages in the swing states and also when it comes to the popular vote. Okay, if the election was held today, it would be very likely that Trump would win. Okay, and this has led to the Democrats becoming more and more deranged. They're getting to the point now where they're basically just saying anything. Okay, the latest attack against Trump is calling Trump Hitler and saying that he is a fascist. Okay, and I find this to be particularly interesting because at the same time, Democrats are also basically arguing that, well, we should not hold Kamala to any standards because Trump is Hitler, which is essentially the argument that Michelle Obama made at a Kamala rally in Michigan, as she clearly is in panic mode over the fact that the race is currently close, according to her, and Trump is gaining more momentum going into the election. And I want to talk about that, but before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Noble Gold. Are you worried about the future of the U.S. economy? With so much uncertainty in the air, it is natural to fret about the security of your retirement savings. However, there's one asset that stands the test of time, and that is gold. For centuries, gold has been a hedge against market volatility and economic instability. With a gold IRA from Noble Gold Investments, you can harness the power of precious metals in order to secure your financial future. By rolling over your existing IRA or 401k into a self-directed gold IRA, you can enjoy the potential for long-term growth and stability. Diversify your portfolio with a tangible asset that has real value. Setting up a gold IRA with Noble Gold Investments has never been easier with its streamlined process and expert guidance. This election year, do not let the volatility and uncertainty keep you up at night. Vote for the timeless safety of gold and silver in 2024. And Noble Gold Investments will give you up to 10 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar if you open a qualified account. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com now. That is noblegoldinvestments.com. And just remember, there's a risk with every investment and there's no guarantee of any kind.
If we want to elect someone with a character that is worthy of the Oval Office, someone with the strength of heart to guide our country to a better day. We have got to what? And that someone, of course, is my dear friend Kamala Harris. It feels good to see how strong, how hopeful, how energized, how organized we all are. And we need that. We need all of you, because right now, as you know, this race is close. It's too close for my liking. And I came out here to Michigan because I am someone who takes her own advice to heart. I know that if we want to help this country finally turn the page on the politics of hatred and division, we can't just sit around and complain. No, we've got to do something. She's putting herself out there fearlessly, facing down even her harshest critics. She's seeking out Republicans to find common ground. And unlike her opponent, she's not ducking interviews or cowering in safe spaces only with fawning audiences. No, she's showing us what a sane, stable leader looks like. I got to ask myself, well, why on earth is this race even close? I lay awake at night wondering what in the world is going on. And it's clear to me that the question isn't whether Kamala is ready for this moment, because by every measure, she has demonstrated that she's ready. The real question is, as a country, are we ready for this moment? But whether it's online or in the media or in our social circles, there are folks who say they're not sure about Kamala. They accuse her of not providing enough policy detail. Some wonder, do we really know her? Is she too aggressive? Is she not aggressive enough? There are folks sowing seeds of doubt about whether she's who she appears to be. Now, don't get me wrong. Voters have every right to ask hard questions of any candidate seeking office. But can someone tell me why we are once again holding Kamala to a higher standard than her opponent?
Yeah, so I really got to tell you guys, the current collapse of the Democrat Party and what is happening to Kamala Harris's campaign really should be studied by political scientists for the rest of this country's history, and a great example of what not to do, right? How to not run a campaign, okay? Because I think that the arguments that the Democrats are making is just getting more and more and more offensive, right? The closer that we get to the election, they're just hell-bent on offending voters, right? Michelle Obama, who I thought was somewhat of a talented politician, right? In the sense that she's not really a politician, but if she decided to be a politician, she might be okay, right? She might be a decent one in regards to her ability to give speeches and to say the right things, right? But clearly from this speech, I was wrong, right? I was mistaken, okay? Because Michelle Obama is essentially blaming the voters, right? They're basically saying, well, it's not Kamala's fault, right? I mean, you know, she's not answering any questions. She's not very coherent in her answers. She is ducking and dodging tough interviews, which is something she accuses Trump of doing, when Kamala Harris quite literally ducked and dodged the Joe Rogan interview, okay? Although Joe Rogan has probably the biggest platform in the world at this point, Kamala Harris says, nah, I'm good, right? I don't want to sit down and have a 3-hour conversation like Trump did, which was very fascinating, by the way. I highly recommend you guys check it out. And we also cannot forget that from a policy perspective, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have not been successful, okay? The American people want change in a new direction, okay? Kamala Harris came out and basically told voters on The View that, yeah, that's not me, okay? I'm the same as Joe Biden. I would have did everything that he did. And again, she cannot articulate what she would have done differently or how her administration would be different than Joe Biden, okay? But despite all this, according to Michelle Obama, it's your fault that you don't want to support these same policies and the agenda that we have for the past 4 years that the American people are currently fed up with, they're tired of, and again, they want something new. It's your fault, okay? Not her fault. It's your fault that the Democrats picked a weak candidate because they decided to overthrow democracy within their own party and not give voters a choice in regards to who should be the candidate. Not the fault of the Democrats and Kamala Harris, okay, and the elites. No. It's the voters' fault. Fascinating. Fascinating closing argument. Just as fascinating as the argument that Kamala Harris should not be held to any standards because Trump is Hitler, right? This is literally what Michelle Obama said. She said, well, I'm upset that Kamala Harris is being held to a higher standard than the person that Democrats are currently arguing is Hitler. Okay, so just to simplify this for you guys, right? Because if you follow Michelle Obama's logic here, what she's saying is that Democrats should not be held to a higher standard than Hitler. This is what she's saying, right? This is the argument that she's making. And I'm just sitting here like, who is writing these speeches? Do Democrats hear themselves talk? I mean, seriously, are they hearing themselves? They're arguing that, hey, Kamala Harris does not have to be better than Hitler because she has a D by her name, okay? You should vote for her simply just because of that, right? That is the argument they're making, guys. This is what they're saying. Now, here's the problem with this argument. The problem with this argument, and I'm explaining to Michelle Obama why is it that Kamala Harris is being held to such a high standard, which she's not. She actually is not being held to any standard, which is the reason why they're losing, because the Democrats are never held to any standard, right? The reason why is because, first and foremost, Trump is not Hitler, okay? He's not Hitler. Everybody knows this. None of the things these people are talking about happened on his first term, and they're not going to happen in his second term, okay? Also, on top of that, from a policy perspective, Trump's presidency was just better, right? On the things that the American people care about the most, like the economy and immigration. The reason why we know this is because Michelle Obama's husband comes out and tries to take credit for Trump's economy, right? Trump's economy was so good that Obama tries to take credit for it, despite the fact that his economy was not great going into the Trump presidency. Trump passes the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that essentially boost the economy to a level that we never saw under Obama, right? And that's what really happened, and Obama is trying to take credit for it, okay? Trump's economy was better. We didn't have all these wars. The border was closed. The country was in a much better place under Trump. These are the basic, undisputable facts, okay? This is why Kamala Harris has been held to a standard, right? Which apparently Democrats don't think she should be held to any standards, okay? This is what they're currently saying out loud. Just vote for Kamala because she has a D by her name, right? She's not Hitler, okay? Which again, it's just not a strong closing argument. It's just not, okay? They can't come out here and tell you that the policies were better, right? So they can't win on the policies, and they're now trying to win on the intangibles. However, again, the intangibles don't result in great policies, okay? Because clearly, if you believe that Kamala Harris has better intangibles than Trump, which she doesn't, by the way, okay? I mean, let's make it clear. The Democrats, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, none of these people have better character than Trump, right? Again, let's just stop all this silly nonsense. For example, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama's husband, who, you know, Democrats claim to be a high character guy, right? He's a good guy. This guy issued drone strikes against American citizens in the Middle East without due process, without a trial, without a chance to prove in the court of law that they're innocent or guilty. Obama said, no, you're guilty, and issued drone strikes against American citizens. A teenager killed him. Okay, I mean, this guy was drone striking weddings. Not something that I would define as a high character thing to do. Okay, but they want you to believe that Democrats are good guys. So when you're living in the real world, you understand that, okay, yeah, none of these people are going to be great people. Okay, so me personally, I'm voting based off the policies. I'm taking my emotions out of it, and I'm voting based off the policies that are going to make my life better. And Democrats just quite simply cannot win on that issue, right? And because of that, that is why voters are rejecting Kamala Harris, okay? Despite all of the intangible arguments, the character arguments that Democrats want to make, it doesn't matter. It doesn't amount to a hill of beans to the voters. Primarily because, again, when it comes to the actual results, Trump is better. And also, Trump is not Hitler, which is something that even Eric Adams came out and admitted during a press conference. He said that, hey, Democrats need to tone down the rhetoric and stop calling Trump Hitler. Take a look.
Mr. Mayor, I wondered if I could ask you about any communications you've been having with the Trump campaign about this rally or otherwise, and if you believe, as others have said, that the former president is a fascist.
I have been had those terms hurled at me by some political leaders in the city, using terms like Hitler and fascist. My answer is no. I know what Hitler has done, and I know what a fascist regime looks like. I think, as I've called over and over again, that the level of conversation, I think we could all dial down the temperature. And I've heard people say that the former president should not be able to have a rally in Madison Square Garden. I strongly disagree. This is America. This is New York. And I think it's important that we allow individuals to exercise their right to get their message clear to New Yorkers. And our job as a city and as a police department is to make sure they can do that in a peaceful way. I think that we must be extremely cautious. The heat we turn up today, pre-election, is going to have to be the heat we're going to have to govern it. And I think we need to show a level of respectable communication. And so when people called me fascist and other terminologies, I didn't like it. And I don't think it's fitting to anyone to state that the former president is equal to being Hitler. I just think that this is a city where we have the largest Jewish population. Anti-Semitism is on the rise nationally. We need to do everything we can to push back on that level of anti-Semitic tone and anti-Semitic issues that we're facing in the city. Let's have a safe, fair, democratic process and show the globe how we're able to do it correctly.
Wow. That sounds like a man that wants a pardon from President Trump, right? That sounds like a man that thinks that Trump is probably going to win, okay? That's what that is from Eric Adams. I think that you have all these people, like, for example, Jeff Bezos, who's like, you know what? I am going to stay neutral between Kamala Harris and Hitler, right? I'm going to stay neutral. The LA Times will say, you know what? We're going to stay neutral between Kamala Harris and Hitler, okay? All these people, okay, the unions, all these people, right? This is what they're doing. Eric Adams is now saying, don't call Trump Hitler. I think these people coming out and saying stuff like this really is some of the strongest proof and evidence that Kamala Harris is losing, that the powers that be are preparing for a Trump victory, right? That's what's happening, okay? They are all kind of getting their ducks in a row, preparing for Trump to be president again, okay? In Eric Adams' case, a lot of people think that he is being politically persecuted in the same way that Trump was politically persecuted. And I don't know. Eric Adams could be guilty, could not be guilty, but what I do know is that he probably would not be facing his charges had he stayed in line, right? Had he not spoke out against the Biden administration, the Biden regime, when it comes to their open border policies that New York City had to suffer from, okay, due to the fact that they are a sanctuary city. Had he not spoken out against the federal government, I don't think he would be facing the charges that he's facing, right? So I think that he feels that he's being persecuted, and he knows that, okay, if Trump wins, he might, go easy on me, right? He might let me off. So that's what's happening here from Eric Adams. But again, I just find it to be fascinating how you have all these Democrats that not only are basically coming out and running on Trump's policies, like, for example, some of these Democrat senators that have races in these swing states, they're running ads in which they're basically saying, yeah, I agree with Trump, okay? And they're distancing themselves from Kamala Harris, okay? I want you guys to understand, they're cozying up to Hitler and distancing themselves from the savior of democracy, okay? It tells you everything you need to know about how all this Hitler rhetoric is just so hyperbolic and so empty. You have John Fetterman coming out here and doing interviews where he's basically talking about all the support that Trump is getting in Pennsylvania because on the ground, people understand that his policies were better. Their lives were better under Trump, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. So when Democrats come out here and basically set the standard that, well, Kamala Harris should not be held to any standards, okay, you should vote for Kamala Harris because the other guy is Hitler, it's just not going to work because everybody knows that it's BS. Everybody knows it, and the more they double and triple down on this, the worse it's going to get. So, hey, in my opinion, I think they should continue to do this. Continue to not hold Kamala to any standards. Continue to not really articulate why she's actually better than Trump. I mean, they can't, because they just can't win on the policies, right? They can't win when it comes to the character conversation either. So again, this is all they got. So I understand why they're doing it. But this type of desperation here is the reason why they're going to lose, right? It's not that Kamala Harris is being held to too high of a standard. It's the fact that Kamala Harris and Democrats have not been held to any standards over the past 8 years because of but Trump. And in this situation, but Trump is not going to work. It's just not going to work. And that's the reality of the situation that they're in right now. So we'll see if they continue to double and triple down on this going into the election. My guess is that they definitely will. And that will be probably the main reason why they lose. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.